A friend was looking for leprechauns to decorate her front windows, so I obliged. I'll show you how I made this adorable leprechaun in a pot of shamrocks. Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. Let's get into it. I drew out my leprechaun and transferred it onto a 1/2-inch pine. Now she wanted 2, so I cut them out with my scroll saw. I've also cut stands so that they'll sit nicely on her windowsill. Now I'm making 2 as I said, but I'm only going to show you 1 because it's the same thing. So they're sanded and ready for paint. I'm starting with his hat and body. I'm using CERAMCOAT Jubilee Green, and I will give both 2 coats. I actually recorded this project as part of the First Friday Challenge, but it would have made that video too long, so I figured I'll isolate it out and make a video of it all by itself. His body only takes up a small portion here. The rest of it's all shamrock, but you'll see. So I'm going to speed it up here for time's sake. Where I live, most of us have 2 front windows. Some do have bay windows, but most have 2 front windows which have really narrow sills. So these particular items that I make are meant to fit on the typical sill here in my neighborhood. Usually I would do the pot charcoal, but I'm kind of running low on charcoal. So I'm doing it black and I'm going to shade it with charcoal. Anyway, the pot and the band on his hat will get 2 coats of black. I'm using Americana Sour Apple to paint in the shamrocks. They'll actually get 3 coats because this paint's a little bit more sheer, but I wanted him to be like sitting snugly amongst the shamrocks. I think you can see here how sheer that paint is. Yeah, so 3 coats, and that did it. I also give the inside of the cutout shamrock a coat, well, 3 coats of the sour apple as well. His face gets 2 coats of CERAMCOAT Tawney. It's a little tough to distinguish the paint color from the wood. They're very similar. Sorry about that. I'm using Americana Sunset Orange for his hair and beard, which kind of run together. They'll get 2 coats as well. I know not everyone decorates for St. Patrick's Day, but everyone around me does, and I certainly do. I love the St. Patrick's Day holiday, and I love to decorate my house for it. I give his hat the black band that I mentioned, and again that's 2 coats, and then that's pretty much him base coated. Our first detail will be the buckle on his hat, because if I don't do it now, I will definitely forget about it. I'm using Folk Art Daybreak, this lovely pale yellow, and it's just 3 quick strokes, 1 on either side, and then across the top. So simple. I have this swirl stamp that I'll use to add curls to his beard. I use my brush to apply some CERAMCOAT Cantaloupe, which is an orangey yellowish color, and I'll stamp it all over his beard. I'm also going to use a piece of paper, well it's actually a piece of cardstock, to mask the green sections in areas. You'll see what I mean. Now we'll get into the shading. To shade his beard, I prep my brush with floating medium and I side load with Americana Cadmium Yellow, or not yellow, orange. I stroke it on my plate to load the bristles, and then I'm going to hold the pink corner of my brush to the edge of his beard where it meets his face, and I'm just going to lay that shading right along the line. I reload frequently whenever my brush runs out of paint, and I'll shade right around his face. Then I shade under the brim of the hat and then the outside edge of the beard. And I'm going to cross hatch over the curls to tone them down a bit. I like to layer my shading, so I'm going to follow the same shading line that I just laid. And this time I'm using burnt orange to add more depth. I'm not really covering the color that I just laid down, I'm more enhancing it. I think that's really the best way to describe it. Onto his face, I side load with Bambi, and I'll shade the inside of his face. Again, paint side of the brush to the edges of his face. Basically, I'm just outlining his face with the shading. Anywhere where there would be a shadow, that's where I'll add a slightly darker color to the base coat. Shading in his nose. Oh, I need to clean my brush and reload. One of the best things about the floating medium is how easy it wipes away if you misstroke. So, there we go. Redoing his nose. And as you can see, I'm just going over those lines to strengthen them a bit. So, you can always do that if you don't feel like it's dark enough. It's no problem. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my liner brush and I'm going to add my eye lines. They're like the shape of little seagulls, and I think it gives the eyes a lift. See, there you go. You can kind of see it better what I mean. You know, when you draw little quick birds in the sky, that's kind of what I do for the eyes. So I use a wee scrubby brush here, load it with CERAMCOAT Coral to dry brush his cheeks and nose, and I'm just going in a circular motion until I'm happy with the depth of color. I dot his eyes with black using the brush handle, and I'm going to add his cheeky wee smirk with my liner brush and black. His brows are burnt orange, just making graduating circles from bigger to smaller and kind of arching them, if that makes sense. Okay, now let's work on the shamrocks. I'm shading with Jubilee Green. Again, it's just like outlining the shape. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up here. Hold on 1 second. Would be great if I could paint this fast. Well, I could, but it would probably be a mess. I actually enjoy taking my time painting. It's very cathartic and relaxing and meditative. Good stuff. Here I'm just reinforcing those shamrock lines. I add wee swirls to the shamrocks with my liner, just for an extra something, a little bit of detail. And I'm using Jubilee Green to do this too. To give the Shamrock Cut Out a slight glow, I'll highlight around it with Sour Apple. It's the same prep. I prep my brush first with the medium and then side load with the paint. It's the exact same thing. I shade an outline around his hat and body with CERAMCOAT Hunter Green. I'm tucking that color in under his beard, and then I'll do it where the shamrocks meet his shirt too. And I'm also going to float in little lines that give you the impression of his arms. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm using CERAMCOAT charcoal to detail the pot and to add some shading to the band on his hat. Let's add some highlights with white. It's the same process pretty much, except we'll add highlights where the light would reflect rather than where the shadow would be. So I kind of come out just a hair from where I floated in the shadow for the highlighting. And we'll add some under his eyes, really gives those eyes some life. I gotta say, I'm not really a stickler. I just kind of look for where I think it might need to highlight, and I just go with that, right or wrong. That's what I do. Each shamrock will get a little bit of a highlight. And now we'll highlight the pot. And I'll dip dot his eyes, cheeks, and nose with a wee white highlight too. I want to give him some sparkle, so I'm painting over the swirls on the shamrocks with Mod Podge, and I'll sprinkle in some glitter. And I'll do this for every shamrock. I add sour apple dots around the cutout, and I'll glitter them too. I'm using corner brackets to attach the stand, so I'm going to drill pilot holes on the leprechaun and then on the stand as well. I attach the brackets to the stand first with 1/2-inch screws, then I'll attach it to the leprechaun. I'm just making sure everything is lined up and level before I add the screws. I embellished the front of the pot with a cutout wooden shamrock, painted just the way the shamrocks are in the pot. And I'll give it a coat of clear matte sealer. And that's it. He's done. I added a little battery operated candle to the stand behind the shamrock. He's the perfect window decoration. Sits perfectly on the windowsill, and he lights up. Who could ask for more? I already sent her a picture and she loves them. I hope you like them too. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. This will be my last St. Patrick's Day project for the year. I'll be moving on to Easter. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.